What's up, guys? I got a little Johnson 15 horse tiller handle here. I got to do a carb clean on and just basically go through it and check it out, make sure everything's okay. And I'm just going to take it apart and kind of show you the steps on how to do it and how to clean the carburetor on it. This is a 93 model, by the way, on it, so it'll have the plastic top and plastic bottom on the carb. Okay, guys, this is the motor I'm talking about. Little 15 horse, little short shaft. It is electric start, but I'm not going to be using it. I'm going to have to do some rewiring on it. But first off, we're going to start by taking the hood off. Now that we got the hood off, I'll show you the next step. Okay, the first thing I do is there's 3 flathead bolts. I start by taking them 3 off, and once you get them loose, it's to lift up. There'll be a rod, let's see if I can get this, attached to this piece right here. You just get that rod, and it will just pop right out of that little socket. We can get focus. That rod would pop out of that little socket right over here. You can see the hole through it. Okay, what I do next is I take this breather box off, and to do that, there's a screw, flathead screw right there. There's a flathead screw right there. Take those screws loose, and then this cable has an indentation right there. You just pull that cable out of that indentation, and then you'll have to feed the cable over, and then your breather box will come off. Then there's your carburetor. Okay, the next thing I do is there's a fuel line right back here. I need to get that fuel line off the carburetor. You can use a flathead or whatever you need to do to get it to pop off. But yank that fuel line off, and then you'll be able to get access to your 2 screws, or bolts I should say. Okay, now that I got my fuel line off, there's 2 7/16 nuts. Right here's one. There'll be another one over here. I done got it off, and you can see where it goes. Okay, next you got a little choke lever. What I do is I pull the choke out, just like that. There'll be a little tab right here on the side. Take a tab, bend it over just a little bit, and then you can pick up on this choke lever enough to get it off that roll pin. Then your choke lever's out of the way. Then there's your choke lever. Okay, now I got everything off the carburetor. Carburetor's ready to come off. It'll just slide right off. Then you can just pull it out of here. Now we're ready to go to the table or bench. I'm going to use my tailgate in my truck, and we're going to clean it up. Okay, first thing I'm going to do with this carburetor is I'm going to tip it upside down like this. Let all that fuel drain out, if there is any fuel in it. That way, when you open it up, it won't quite make such a mess on your work table or whatever you're working on. Then once you get that done, you got to take a Phillips head screwdriver and take all these Phillips head screws out that go around your fuel bow. Okay, now that I got all the screws out, I'm going to lift this fuel bow off. It's actually pretty clean, but we're still going to check everything out and clean it up just to make sure. Okay, another little quick thing you want to realize with some of these carburetors, if you use carb clean or brake clean, whatever you use to clean your carburetor, sometimes it's better to just take this little gasket right here, set it off to the side, because some of these, if you get brake clean or carburetor cleaner on it, it'll actually cause them to expand, and you'll never get it to seal right again. The next thing we're going to check on this is right there is your high-speed jet. This one doesn't look too dirty, but I'm going to go ahead and use a needle on my carb clean. I'm going to stick it in there and blow that jet out. Okay, now I've cleaned that jet right there. And there's no trash in it, no blow. You know, I blew through it and it's good to go there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to check the float. And on this float is adjustable. It's got a metal tab right here. What you want to do on these is you want to look at your carburetor and you want it to set level right here. Look at the top of your float right here. This one is pretty good. So that's setting just about right. And another thing you want to do is flip your carburetor over and right there is your fuel needle. This is what tells the carburetor it needs more fuel or don't need more fuel. And you want to make sure that thing is moving freely inside the carburetor like that. I'm still going to pull the float off and check the needle on it. And the needle's right here. Okay, to get to the needle, pull this little pin right here. And then this will come out of there. And what you want to look at on this needle is make sure that little rubber tip right there on the end, it'll focus. Okay, this little tip right here is what I was talking about. You want to make sure that tip, it's rubber, and you want to make sure it's not messed up, because if it's messed up, it'll never seal right inside the carburetor. Okay, this is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. To put it back together, you want to just leave it just like you took it out. That tip will go right inside this garment, right down in here. Put it just like that. And then you got your pin. Just like that. And then you got your seal. Like so. And then you got your bowl. Then just put all your Phillips head screws back on it, and then we're going to put it back on the motor. Okay, I got all my screws back in, got the float ball on, got the carburetor back together. Another thing on these carburetors you want to check is if you have a real bad lean sneeze or the motor's coughing, a lot of time these plastic tops on these carburetors right here, this is all your fuel air this is your fuel air ratio mixture screw. This is all where it gets air through the carburetor. If this thing gets cracked, you cannot see it sometimes. And it will let air in. And you cannot, most times it's just better to replace it. This one I think is okay. I'm not going to worry about it. But if it's doing that, most of the time it's either the gasket's on this or it has a crack in this plastic top right here. And then right here is your mixture screw. And you can look up online on what year and make and model your motor is, and it'll tell you the factory set on the mixture screw, and then you set it to that and it'll be close, and then you just need a lean or rich in it. I'll show you that on a different video. But that's how I normally clean the carburetor on these. Okay, start off. And also be sure to check the seal on back here. Make sure your seal is still good, because any air leak will cause this thing to lean out and it will not run right. We're going to go ahead and put the carburetor back on. Mine's good to go. Let's see here. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put my screws on, or my nuts. Right here, 7/16. One on each side. And be back right with you. Okay, I got my carburetor bolts back on. Or nuts, I should say. They're both on. Tighten down. Next thing I'm going to do is put this choke back together. Just slide it up in there. You have to get it over this rope in right here. Just like that. Then there's your choke. Okay guys, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this fuel hose back on. It goes on that fitting right there. And then we'll be ready for the next step. The next step's gonna be to get our breather box. Okay, I got my breather box, time to put it on. It can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but it will go. Right there. Okay, once you get it fished in there, it's time to tighten the screws back down. Now that I got my screws down, I'm gonna pop this back in place right here. Cable's popped back in. I put my cable on this side so that it can't get up in here in the flywheel teeth and cut it. And then make sure your rod's over here. Make sure it's there for the pull cord. This is the neutral safety. Okay, time to put a pull cord back on. And all you do is just set it up there. Align the bolts up like so. Got my bolts lined up. I'm gonna tighten all these screws back down. Well, first off, I'm gonna lift it up right here and pop this back in that garment that I showed you earlier. Okay, got my rod back in the garment underneath here. See it? Now all I got left to do is tighten down my flathead screws to hold the pull rope in place. And I should be ready to put the hood on it and fire it up and make sure she runs. As you see, this motor runs really good now that I have the car clean. You can really ask for much better than that. I'm gonna kill it and try to use the pull rope now, kind of give you a show what it does. Starts right up every time.